sometimes feel that when you're feeling stressed at work and you're trying to talk to your friends about it, or you're out at dinner parties, and everybody seems to really, it seems like a universal way to break the ice with just about anyone, to talk about, deadlines and pressures and the lack of time and the traffic jams. And it's an excellent bonding experience, actually. But recently, the Christmas season underway, I'd gone to a get together, and I met somebody there who looked at me and she said, "You seem to be terribly negative about your, work-life balance. Why don't you do something?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, what should I do? I mean, I'm trying my best. I'm meditating. I mean, what more can I do?" And she said the funniest thing. She said, "Do you drink enough water?" And I said, "Well, I mean, not really. I drink a lot of coffee, but I don't drink enough water." And I couldn't see the link. And she said, "You should try to drink a lot of water." And I actually did. And I'm just reporting from the last one of my experiences. I do feel less bothered by the same triggers would bother me before. And I'm just wondering if water was the cure. This is Sonalia Charji, and you are listening to Health Wealth, a podcast that hopes to leave you feeling factually better informed about all aspects of your health, but also very, very enthusiastic and motivated to make those right choices for yourself. The reason I really wanted to do this episode, and I wanted to time it as such that it releases at the end of the year, is because I think we've been talking so much about workplace stress, and certainly we did a cover story in Integrative magazine on it, and the sort of pressures and how it's translating into poor physical well-being and poor social well-being. And there's been so much of talk about it, but like I said, I don't see enough solutions. It seems more like the problem exists, but what can you do about it short of, trying Instagram yoga or something, small like that. And there doesn't seem to be a holistic answer to a problem that's impacting all of us. And I'm very excited today that we have with us Luke Coutinho, who is an integrative lifestyle medicine expert. And I actually came across his 6 pillars of dealing with stressors, and it seemed to combine a whole lot of things together, which is actually what I often feel one needs rather than just doing one thing. So I'm very happy that he's here. Hi, Luke.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Before we get to the solution part of it, I just wanted to understand if it's just me, or is there a problem with work-related stress today?
There's two ways to look at this problem. Yes, there are some workplaces or certain leaders and managers or departments and workspaces that creates a certain amount of stress for those particular departments. It's very rare to come across an organization where everyone has a work-life balance problem. So, because we can't just blame it on corporates, we can't just blame it on work all the time. We also need to look at what we're doing. Like I loved your introduction where you spoke about something that you needed to change in order to handle your stress better, which was as simple as staying hydrated. We all know that at a biological level in the body, if we're deprived or we're dehydrated by even 1%, every functioning of the body changes from our vital organs to our brain. So a small problem may be a big problem for us now because we're dehydrated. So I'd like to be fair to people who are employees as well as corporates and organizations, because it's very easy for people in our country to misuse problems to their advantage. Blame companies. At the same time, companies want to blame employees of being lazy, but it's both ways. So yes, there is an existing problem, and it can be looked at in many, many, many different ways. Like if you ask me today, most companies are trying to create health plans for their employees, get yoga teachers, get gym teachers, nutrition programs, speakers, and all of these things. But many times I think, is this really the right solution, or is it a tick in the box for HRs just to do something because every company needs to show that they care about the health of their employees? Because I can tell you one thing, a company can give every employee a gym membership free of cost. And I can guarantee you the usage will be less than 2%,
Mm.
because many corporates give medical tests free to employees. The usage is very, very little. So is it really a lack of tools, or do we need to look at corporates changing their governance models? Like, how can
Mhm.
corporates, instead of giving more tools to employees, actually make work hours better, support lesser night shifts if they can, or the people who are doing night shifts, support them with a better way of living, support them with healthier food instead of telling them, but not creating a healthy environment within the organization with healthy food. So sometimes I think corporates need to do less of the giving talks, all of that. That information is available everywhere on YouTube, but create laws in the company that actually supports an environment for employees to use it inside and outside of their workplaces. So this is what I see. There is
Yeah.
yes and no, and at the same time, India is great at misusing laws, finding loopholes in laws, and everyone blaming work, too much of work, because you walk into an organization. That's my job. I get called to corporates to solve problems, and they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, Luke, people are saying we're burning out." I say, "Get me all the people who are burning out," and they'll come up with 5 or 6 people. And when I sit with these 5 or 6 people, some of them have bad managers who are making their life miserable. The rest of them have other genuine problems. They're caregivers to sick parents. They
Mhm.
travel too long. They have genuine problems and they don't know how to navigate through these problems. They don't
Yeah.
need a yoga teacher telling them to do yoga. They need someone to teach them how to navigate through difficult problems in life. So people burn out based on the energy that they use in the wrong places. Like you and I both have 100% of energy, which is our responsibility to wake up with. If I sleep well at night, I wake up with 100% of energy. Now, if I'm going to give that energy to things that don't matter, unnecessary scrolling, the wrong food, the wrong people in my life that are energy vampires, of course, when I go into my workplace, I am going to feel burnt out, even though my work is not burning me out.
Yeah.
Or
No,
I finish work, I should be going home to rest, but I'm going out clubbing, drinking alcohol, and depleting myself. So this is my perception. There are genuine cases and there are not so genuine cases. Yeah.
I agree. No, I'm very glad you said that about navigating through stress, because that's also often talked about in workplaces where you find an older generation saying that the younger ones don't know how to cope with their triggers the way we did because we're in family and so on. And the younger ones will say, well, we're more aware of mental health and speak up for it. And that's why, there are more reports of, young people having workplace stress. What do you think the situation is?
See, the situation is different. We can't compare generations. Every generation has been completely, completely different. So the newer generations have had a very different environment of upbringing, very different exposures in life. So their trigger points for mental health and emotional health will be very different from the generation above. So it's very wrong for the current generation to say, but we were like that, but we did this, but you did that. Our problems and our time was very different from theirs. So somewhere we have to learn how to bridge the gap so we can understand them better. And at the same time, a lot of them misuse their generation. A lot of them are plain just entitled, lazy, spoiled brats. And that requires a disciplinary mode because there's nothing else that you can. You feed the wrong emotion, you build more problems. But I think we need to bring that understanding into workplaces and also set expectations, because a lot of corporates are bending their rules to attract people and giving them more and more techniques and tools for them to feel more entitled. And the more entitled you make a human being, the more they're going to sit on your head. So there has to be a fine line between discipline. There has to be a fine line between delivering what you've promised to deliver in a workplace. And there has to be a fine line between an organization taking advantage of employees just, by just saying, oh, you're young, you should work more, or we don't respect your boundaries, we don't respect your work-life balance. So I think there's a lot of work to be done at this level before you come down to the normal to-do list of bring a speaker, bring a yoga teacher, let's give everyone, access to this. They don't need that. Everyone has access to all of these tools. They need help to navigate. They need inspiration to, find, what's going wrong. And everyone has to work to get her to click, to do it. So a lot of companies will come up to attract employees or just get media attention that, oh, we're doing a 4-day week, oh, we're doing this, oh, we're doing that, just to get that media attention, just to get likes. But inside the company, it's a very different story. They may do a 4-day week, but the 4 days they're working is now become a 16 to 17-hour day. Right? So the point is, nothing is as true as it is on social media, but the real work has to be done at an employee level and at a corporate level, at a management and leadership level.
Yeah. Something I realized with myself is when I think I'm stressed, I'm not feeling that good. Um, I tend to downplay it. I'm a bit like, oh, it's just a bit of stress. I can get through it. Oh, it'll just cause me a little bit of poor sleep, or I'll be eating too much. And then I came across, a doctor who explained to me the impact of cortisol on a, biological level, on a cellular level. What that feeling of being stressed is doing to me, the insult to my cells, that the lack of sleep would be affecting me. And that really got me very concerned about even the slightest bit of stress, and I wanted to learn more. Could you explain a bit about, what chronic stress can actually do to people?
So chronic stress is the root cause of most diseases today, and it is the root cause of why most people are stuck on 1, 2, and 3 plus medications. 20s, 30s, 40s, 70s, and 80s. We need to understand that it's not about the problem that's stressing us out. It's not about the event. It's not about the person. All of these are causes. It's what's happening in the human body. When we're stressed out, let's say right now I stress you out, your cortisol will increase, your adrenaline. These are great hormones. They can protect us, they can build us, they can reduce inflammation. But it's good when the levels go up and come down quickly. In chronic stress, we're moving from one stressful event to another, creating one more stressful problem, addressing another stressful problem. So until the stress comes down, cortisol and adrenaline is high. Now that creates inflammation in the body, a hormonal imbalance, and low immune system. And all of this is connected with the top diseases in the country right now. So we need to understand that you may be on a couple of medicines that you think are looking after you. But if you're not addressing the root cause, which is chronic stress, eventually it is going to cause you that cardiac arrest. It is going to bring on a multifactorial condition like a cancer. It is going to bring on a type 2 diabetes. So this is the connection. A lot of people think stress doesn't have the connection with disease. People link stress with high blood pressure. It's not high blood pressure. High blood pressure is a symptom of an already sick body, of an already sick kidney, of an already bad lifestyle. It's only the symptom, but there's an underlying problem. So this is the impact. And it's a double-edged sword. Now, because I'm stressed, I can't sleep. Now, because I'm sleep deprived, I have other problems and I'm more stressed because no one can function on a body or a mind that's sleep deprived. We're more snappy, we're more angry. So it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And that's what stress can do to us.
And so, we've understood the problem, we've understood what it can do. The real purpose of this episode was to get to the solutions. And I was intrigued, and I personally also want to try your 6 pillars of wellness. I'd really like to go through each pillar, and perhaps if you could just explain briefly how they help you, and if there are some basic things that people can do using each pillar at home to help reduce stress at work. So if you could just start with nutrition, cellular nutrition.
So it's simple. Nutrition, we don't have to make it complicated. We don't need to make it expensive. Nutrition, we eat food so our body can extract nutrients, feed our brain and trillions of cells in our body and our organs. So it's very simple. You're eating the wrong food. You have the wrong chemical reactions, the wrong communication in the body. You're eating the right food. It's supporting and nourishing your body. So yes, food can stress out my body. If I'm eating junk and ultra processed food, if I'm overeating, if I'm undereating, if I'm eating at the wrong time, all of this can have an impact on my brain, on my neurotransmitters like my serotonin, my dopamine, all of this. So food impacts our emotions. Food impacts our gut. If I'm eating the wrong foods, I have poor gut health. I have poor gut health. I can even have symptoms of depression. I can even have depression. So this is the impact of food, and it's as simple as that when it comes to nutrition. Simple, natural, healthy foods. If you're eating junk, it should be the minimum, the most minimum, like Out of 100%, maybe 90% whole foods and natural foods, 10% you're allowed the liberty of having a little bit of junk, unless, of course, you have a medical condition that doesn't allow you to eat that. The more sugar you have, the more poor gut health and poor emotions you're going to have. It's a myth that people say, oh, Luke, but I feel happy when I eat
Yeah,
sugar.
happy of the sugar and
They don't
chocolate.
understand the meaning of real happiness. You don't feel happy. Your brain is excited with the actual rush of sugar. And that's why that feeling comes down very soon and you want to eat more. That's an addiction. That's not happiness. That's called neuro excitement. So you eat foods that have salt and sugar. We love that food, like a bag of chips. It
Yeah.
doesn't make you happy because that happy is not even permanent for the next 20 to 30 minutes the moment it comes down. So that's with nutrition. Right time, right quantity, don't undereat, don't overeat. And natural food is going to be the best for your gut health and for your brain health. And a lot of people going on these fad diets, going on low fat diets, going extremely low on carbohydrates, it affects their brain, it affects their mood. People eating late at night affects their mood, affects their emotions. So all of these things are extremely important. The second pillar is exercise. You're sedentary, you're going to have very, very poor emotional health because we require movement. The body requires movement for blood circulation, for your brain. That's why you feel so great after a workout. Endorphins, not produced when we're sedentary. They're produced when we're moving. So exercise, again, same rules. Don't over-exercise. Don't under-exercise. Exercise moderately. Your program should be holistic, meaning not what Instagram tells you to do, but what your body needs. What does the human body need? Whether you're 15, whether you're 95, the human body needs flexibility, mobility, strength, stamina and endurance, lung capacity, and heart capacity, which is your cardiovascular. So you need to have a program that trains all of this into you. So it's simple: walking, yoga, or jogging, weightlifting, or body weight exercises, resistance, Pilates, and you just mix it up and you have a holistic program, which is absolutely necessary for your mood, emotions, and your mental health. In fact, we've seen this among so many of our patients with depression when they come to us. Till week 3, we've not even started a diet plan. We're just getting them to move in the first 3 weeks to show them how amazing they can feel with just movement. And then we bring in the food. That's how important it is. The next pillar is sleep. It's a no-brainer. You're sleep deprived. We are basically building lanes that will eventually lead us towards Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. There are many other reasons for that, but the lack of activity and the lack of sleep is the biggest. Benign tumors in the brain, you name it. Sleep deprivation is directly, not indirectly, connected with every single disease, from a cancer to acne on the face. Because it's while we sleep that the body does all the magic that it cannot do during the day. So sleep is medicine.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt about sleep. How important is the quality of your sleep? Because you can sleep.
That's the only
for
thing that's
12 hours.
important. It's not the quantity. It is the quality. Some people can sleep 4 hours, deep sleep, go through all their REMs and non-REMs, wake up without the need of coffee, without the need of anything. Some people sleep 9 hours and are still tired. So it is not the quantity of sleep. It is always the quality of sleep.
I mean, is there something one can do for better quality?
Absolutely. Gadgets before bedtime will decrease your melatonin. Blue light from the screens will decrease your melatonin. So use blue blockers if you have to. Sleeping at different timings every day, breaking your own circadian rhythm will decrease that. Being so stressed out, not calming down your mind before sleep will do all of those things. Eating late night meals will impact the quality and the depth of your sleep. All of these things matter. All of these impact how much sunlight you get in a day, or natural light impacts the quality of your sleep. So if you wake up and you haven't gotten outdoor time or a little bit of sunshine or connected with natural light, or maybe not even got a sunset, a part of a sunset, all of that impacts our circadian rhythms and the depth of our sleep.
Yeah, no, I really feel there is something about being indoors too much and being as far away from nature as we're trying to, like, box ourselves up into steel and concrete. Something does get impacted with our sleep and health.
Yes. So that's on the sleep model. That's the pillar of sleep. It's extremely important for all of us. And there's no negotiation, there's no debate over there. It's as simple as that. The next pillar is your emotional wellness, of course, which is what we're talking about. Everything leads to that. So if I want to, if I'm giving you a solution today, to stress, I'm not going to talk about meditation. I'm not going to talk about a walk in the park. I'm not talking about CBT. These are all great tools and techniques. For us to get better at stress in our life, we need to make the change first in our mind. What is stress? Stress is nothing but the way we relate to a person, a thing, or an event. I relate negatively, I create stress. I relate positively, it's no longer stress. It's a problem, but hey, there's an intention with a solution. So I may not like a person and I constantly relate negatively to that person. The only person stressed out is me. Or I can say, I don't like that person, but hey, I need to accept this person. This person is at my workplace. I may not have to be this person's friend. I can draw my boundaries. But I take away my own stress by changing the way I relate to it. Because stress is a word that is overused and misused. It's a word that is also being used as a weapon today to create fear, to create lack in people. You're so stressed, come and buy this special expensive program. Oh, you're so stressed, buy these melatonin drops that will calm you down. You're so stressed. Everything is weaponized for a
Yeah,
business and a
yeah,
profit.
yeah,
So my point is we need to understand that stress is real and stress is not negative. Stress is a protective emotion
yeah.
telling us that, hey, this is going on. What are you going to do about it? But most people
Mhm.
lack action. They're stressed
Mhm.
about a relationship, but they don't want to do anything about it. They're stressed about their workplace, but they don't want to do anything about it. The only action is complain, vent, blame, which is really not fixing the problem. So
Mhm.
there is a lack of action. Stress can be really good for the human body and the immune system, but too much of it can actually kill us. So the first change has to be in my mind. There's a simple exercise. You write it down, two categories, A and B. Write down
Mhm.
all your stresses. Now, the stresses that are in your control, which means you can do something about it, put it in category A. The stresses which are out of your control, like the weather, like whatever it is, you're
Yeah.
56 kilos right now and you want to become 46, put it
Mhm.
in what is in your control and out of your control. And most people, when they do this exercise, will now see that they're actually stressing about the things that are out of their control,
Mhm.
which is
Other
futile.
people's behavior. That's always something we stress about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you got to channel the energy into the things that I can control. So if I take action A and B, this stress can reduce in my life. If it's out of my control, there are only three words: accept, let go, surrender. There is no counseling around this. Category B is your work to do. You can take counseling to help you get the strength to accept and let go. But there is no other way. We fool ourselves thinking we're in control of everything. People say, oh, you can do everything in life. You can achieve everything in life. No, we can't. There are some things we can and some things that we may not be good at, and we need to let that go.
Yeah.
So we
And
need to
and that's
categorize
really
stress
hard
this way.
actually to do. I mean, I think the real strength is in letting things go and accepting that you can't do something.
But why is it hard? Because of ego and pride. That's the only thing. And we have to work with that. That's when we can take help. How do I break my ego? How do I break my pride so I have the strength or the grace to let go or accept? But because our pride and ego or our sense of entitlement is so strong, that becomes our biggest stress. So you see, when we reach a state of acceptance, there is no more stress. But the opposite of acceptance is resistance. When we're in a state of resistance, there is always chaos. There is always disharmony and stress.
I really like your fifth pillar, which is reconnecting with the spirit, because I don't think we look at stress from a spiritual angle.
Yeah, it's extremely important. See, most people today are stressed out because they're not connected with their authentic self. When we're connected with our authentic self, we know who we are.
Mm.
We don't have to pretend to be someone in society. We don't have to pretend to like someone. We're so connected. We know what makes us happy. We protect ourselves. We're not looking for constant validation from outside. Every human wants a little bit of acknowledgement and validation and attention. There's nothing wrong. But when you're too much into getting validation from people, you're so disconnected from yourself that you need to seek it from the outside world, which is only stress again. So we teach people to reconnect with their authentic self, bring in the angle of spirituality, because no matter what the religion is, what the spiritual part is, they all preach the commonalities of kindness, acceptance, surrender, letting go, grace, recognizing the little mercies and forgivenesses that are extended to us in life. And these are little spiritual gifts that help us get stronger, that help us get stronger. So when people come to say, Luke, my biggest stress is I can't forgive these people. My first question is, because it's not my job to get in and tell you, no, you must forgive them, because we can't measure them, the degree of hurt that they've gone through. We've not been in their space. But my question to them is, how many times in your life have you been forgiven? When you were a child, a teenager, and oh yeah, Luke, many times. So just think about that. If you've been given the gift of forgiveness, what's stopping us from giving it to someone else? Take help, take counseling to help you get there. But it's a gift that you got to keep passing on because you are receiving it in many ways. So, many of these emotions are difficult, but the more we're connected spiritually to ourselves, I think it becomes easier to navigate through all of these things, like work-life balance. Maybe I'm going to have 3 months of a lot of work, but my spiritual connection with myself sees it as an opportunity and says, okay, the next 3 months are going to be rough. Let me see how I can organize my day to still get my workout, to still do this, to still do this, and recognize and appreciate what I have rather than fight the system because everyone on social media is fighting work-life balance, right? So we're either the herd or we're either connected to ourselves. Big difference.
Right. And what role does breath play? Because again, not something you actively think about when you're stressed.
Breath is everything because right now, if I stress you out, the quickest way for you to bring down cortisol and adrenaline is through your breath work. If you slow down your inhale, let's say your inhale is 4 seconds and you make your exhale 8 seconds, in a couple of minutes, your cortisol and adrenaline will come down because your breath communicates with your autonomic nervous system that controls your heart rate, your pressure. So your problem may still be in front of you, but inside of your body, your cortisol and adrenaline has come down. You see, so most people believe when my problem ends, I'll be happy. No, you'll be diabetic by then. You'll have a heart problem by then. Let the problem be there. Put in your action plans, but create the environment of, relaxation in your body. And for that, breath is the most inexpensive, freely available tool wherever you are, and you can change how cortisol and adrenaline works in your body.
I'd gone to Kyoto last year in Japan, and there was a tea house I went to where the person asked me to walk through a path, and there were various things, pebbles, plants, and it was a path or a very small area, but you just went through the path. And I later wanted to ask, why do we have to do that? Why can't I just walk straight? And he said that it helps slow you down because you've just come from traffic and noise and so many thoughts, and just meandering for a little while makes you more mindful. And I realized, and I still do this today, that it's so difficult to be mindful, to slow down. It doesn't happen. And very often when, as employees, we're told, do meditation or go for, that program for mindfulness, you can't slow down and then you give up. So for somebody who's overworked and has access to meditation today, um, what advice would you give them to approach this practice in the right way?
So I think consistency is the magic word because too many people are very quick to judge that, oh, I meditated, but I still got angry. I meditate and I still get angry. The job is not for meditation to fix your anger. The job is for meditation to bring you to a calm space where you can be observant and mindful of, oh, this is who I was in that situation. In that calmness can be really see what affected us. Why are most people stressed at the end of the day? They just say, hey, work or family. But you actually break it down and it comes down to a little trigger that happened in the day. But everyone just blames something else, and you can't fix a problem without knowing what the actual root cause of the problem is. So these are tools. Mindfulness is powerful. So if I get angry today, it's okay. I'm human, but I want to be mindful about my triggers. I want to be mindful about how it made me feel. I want to be mindful about how it made someone else feel. So I do that little reflection. For me, mindfulness is incomplete without reflection. I can be mindful about our conversation right now. But if I reflect on your conversation that you're having with me today, maybe before I sleep or maybe when I'm on my flight, I can pick out things that, hey, wow, there was some impact made. We're making a difference. These were the questions. I love her story about the cafe in Kyoto. You see, now there's mindfulness and reflection. I'm creating a neural pathway in my brain. Otherwise, I'm not. To create any new pattern of behavior in my brain, it's practice, practice, and practice. It's not a one-time thing. So the only way we can get better through mindfulness is not more seminars, not more classes, but practice, practice, fail, practice again. And that's how it is. Because in a world that is so chaotic, the practice is going to be a lot more that we need to do. But you go
Mhm.
into a quiet place, like I'm sure when you were in Kyoto, you didn't have to
Yeah.
try to be mindful. You're in a different environment. You were yourself. You were connected automatically because the environment was different.
And also I think sometimes we have this with quick commerce. There's this need for instant gratification and a certain pursuit of happiness. And I remember somebody once said this to me. It had a profound impact on me that stop running after happiness, learn to love your sadness. And it really impacted me because it changed how what I was viewing from wellness programs. That the results weren't to make me this super happy person, but to learn to love all parts of me. Do you think self love and that self acceptance is also key to reducing stress?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we teach our patients. They
Yeah.
all want to chase happiness, most of them, but I ask them to start off with sadness. Because when they can break down all their sadness to me, and now I ask them to talk about happiness, they realize how much more valuable the things that are going well in their life or what they have and who they have. So I believe self love, there are two things. Self love can also make people very selfish. I've seen that. There's a fine line between self love and selfishness. But yes, we have the right to put ourselves first. We have the right to
Mhm.
treat ourselves the way we want to.
Yeah.
So I think self love and acceptance of our flaws, acceptance of who we are, acceptance of our mistakes, acceptance of our guilt, our shame is so important for us to fulfill ourselves before we go out in the world and try to fulfill others.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, I was doing yoga and I sprained my finger. And I was too sick at that time because I've also gone through a period of clinical depression. And I was too sick to go to a doctor. And my finger is crooked as a result of that. And for a very long time, every time I saw the finger, I would feel very bad about my life. And I feel very sad. Like, how could this happen to me? Poor me, victimism. And today I love it. I actually keep showing it around and saying, look, I love myself. I love my little finger. That reminds me of a phase in your life where you're too weak and then you learn how to be strong again. And that was my sort of self-love journey. But I was told by a friend who pays rent and doesn't have much family inheritance that I can afford to become mentally strong because I have the financial backing for it, and that mental wellness is a luxury today. To slow down is a luxury. It's for people who have the financial means to do so. Would you sort of agree with that statement?
Absolutely untrue. I live in Bombay right now. Every morning when I drop my daughter to school, I go under the Bandra Reclamation Bridge where you see these less privileged children, running on the streets, smiling, laughing, having the best time. Their mums are laughing, their dads are, playing with them with the ball. And you look around and you'll see Mercs and, Land Rovers, and you look inside and see grumpy people sitting over there with all their luxuries and stuff like that. Our mental health is a choice. Our environment may not be our choice, but how we adapt in that environment is completely our choice. I work with most of the billionaires in our country. Are all of them extremely happy? The answer is no. You would wonder, but how, Luke? They're billionaires. They're billionaires because it's our choice of how we want to adapt and what we want to choose as our sources of happiness. If we've chosen wealth as our source of happiness alone and you have a lot of money, it will make you happy because that's your source of happiness. Before we get into any relationships in life, doesn't have to
Mhm.
be just with a partner, maybe before you have a child, before whatever it is, we need to know what our sources of happiness are. If we don't know that, okay, maybe we fall in love because of the excitement of it, the hormones, we want to have a child because other people are having children. But if we're not connected with ourselves, which comes back to the pillar of the spirit, and those are not, that relationship is not giving me my real source of happiness. It's always going to come back and trouble us throughout those relationships, and that we build our own stress that way. So I think our environments, maybe most of them can't be changed, but our choice Our choice to exist, coexist, thrive in that environment is completely up to us. It does not have anything to do with money.
If you're comfortable sharing, what would your sources of happiness be? Because you've also been in a corporate background, and now
Yeah.
you're in a different space. Um, what's changed for you?
So my sources of happiness would be nature. I know if I'm closer to nature, I'm a naturally happier person. Do I need to pretend to be happy sometimes in Mumbai? Of course I do. I don't like the city. I mean, I don't like the city, the infrastructure in terms of there's no nature around where I can go. I'm from Goa. I've grown up with nature around me. So that's the source of my happiness. Then real connections is a source of happiness, not small talk. I can't make small talk. I can't be in these situations. I'm being honest about it since you asked me. So my source of happiness is real connections with people. My source of happiness is also things like movement. I'm extremely happy when I've been able to walk or work out. I feel so good. And my linchpin is sleep. If I'm sleep deprived, it's very, very difficult to be who I am. So these are my sources of happiness because they make me feel good inside of myself. My source of happiness is when I can make a difference, no matter how small. And someone says that, hey, you made a difference. So these things make me, these are my sources of happiness. So if any of these are kind of, threatened, yeah, it's something which I'm very protective about. It could make me the opposite.
And you also do a lot of work, and you have multiple commitments, and you're doing a podcast, and you probably have patients to see, and so on and so forth. So how do you deal with your work-life balance, or being overworked, or just stress of work?
Everything is planned for me. Everything. Like you budget money, I budget time. Every single thing is planned. And that's why, for me, the things that really derail me are patients who are late for their appointments, people who don't respect my time, because everything is working clockwork. So I have my exercise planned, I have my 8 hours of sleep planned no matter what. I will have my family time planned. I'll have my me time planned, and then my patient time planned. So if everything is planned, of course, there are days where your schedule will get thrown off because you have an urgent patient that's come in, but you learn to accept that as part of the whole game. So for me, there cannot be ad hoc dinners. There cannot be ad hoc parties. There cannot be. It needs to be planned, as boring as it may sound to other people, but that's what makes me happy and that's what keeps everything going for me.
Right. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Like I said in the beginning, and I'm really, really grateful for Luke reinforcing it, is that don't sit on your problems. Um, it's we all have the same issues at work, pretty much. Deadlines, and that person hasn't finished their work, so my work is getting late, or you know we're late by 10 minutes and the boss is screaming at us, or paperwork, and filling up bills. It's pretty much the same stuff. And the minute I personally shifted from being problem oriented to being solution oriented, you also realize that the solutions are common. So, sometimes just speaking to a colleague helps, and see how they're coping with the same thing as you. Or, opt for a good wellness program, which is really going to not give you just the basic stuff which you're getting on Instagram or YouTube, but really going in depth into, like Luke said, the various pillars that can help you become a stronger person, more peaceful inside, and deal with stress. So if you've enjoyed this episode, and if you learned something meaningful from it, and it brought some significant impact in your life, or if it didn't, I'd love to hear about your thoughts. You can write to us at pods@indiatoday.com, or you can message us on 8588896696. And again, if you've enjoyed it, I'd love to get your feedback, so you can leave us a review or a rating. We're there on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple, the India Today website, and a lot of other audio streaming platforms. You just have to Google us. Thank you.